Hi, I'm Tony Russo, and this is In Case You Missed It from Kates-Boylston for the week ending Friday, November 8th, 2024. As I mentioned last week, both Carriage and SCI reported their earnings, which was, well reported. I'm sure you've gone over those numbers if you're interested, and if you're not, those numbers are publicly available. But what I wanted to talk about was both companies talked about acquisition as their primary thing for 2025, with interest rates returning to levels that people feel more favorable. Both companies seem primed to do a lot of acquiring in 2025. In the SCI call, they said that they expect to go over budget on their acquisitions because they expect to earn enough money to justify. So over budget as a number, not as a percentage. But they're hoping to generate enough revenue to buy more properties even than they had anticipated. And on the Carriage side, which was really interesting, Carriage is going with a company-wide management system, which they'll be rolling out over the next couple of months or into early 2025. But the other thing is they want to make big acquisitions. So instead of they've been in difficulties, I guess, for the last 2 years or so as they kind of got their debt under control, but they've knocked it down faster than they were supposed to and then they expected to, and they're already gearing up for a big acquisition year in 2025 for them. But they're trying to focus more on large purchases than on small ones, although if the right small purchase became available, it's something that they said they would both be interested in. We also reported last week on a cemetery in Manitoba that was trying to get people to sign up to participate in its plan to put cremated remains in the ground and then put a tree on top of them. And I was very excited about it, and I mentioned as much in an interview this week on a different topic. It was brought to my attention that cremated remains are not good for trees. I did not know that, and I'm going to do a report on it for late November and early December. But it's an interesting turn that, maybe a lot of people weren't aware of. I certainly wasn't, and I've been, covering the industry for a while. So if you want to bury your cremated remains with a tree, you're not doing the tree as much good as you think you are. I don't know if you're necessarily hurting the tree. Again, this is new information to me, but when you find out you're wrong, you want to say it as soon as possible. And this was my first opportunity. So something of a correction. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I do think that before you go out and start burying cremated remains right along with a freshly planted tree, check with your arborist professional, your master gardener, to see if it's actually healthy for the tree or if it could impede its growth. So yesterday, on Thursday, November 7th, we held a webinar about cremation practices on Kates-Boylston.com, and specifically body tracking came up, and you can register for that still and get the download either sometime tonight or early on Saturday morning if you're interested in seeing the specific presentations. But one of the things that you may want to know about, because it was an issue this week, is there is a cremation company in Harris County, Texas, that had something of a mix-up, and it wasn't a body mix-up. The family had asked that the decedent's hair be kept, and this was Kenneth Thomas, who was a young man who was killed in a robbery. He was being robbed, and he was shot and killed, and this was back on August 26th, and the family wanted his hair to do memorialization with. Some people wanted to weave his hair into their own, and some people wanted to have other memorialization things made out of it. And the funeral home confused it with someone else's hair and sent the family the wrong hair. And then when the family objected, the funeral home didn't deny it. They apologized for the mistake and they owned up to it immediately, and they're working everything out. But it was something, and it was funny because I reported on this story and we had the cremation event kind of all at the same time, and it's so easy to make so permanent a mistake with cremation that you may want to take a look at that body tracking video. The Halcyon, which has recently been acquired by Batesville, was pitching its management software along with its body tracking software. And if you're not using body tracking software, you end up regretting it, there's nothing to be done about it. Just like a cremation, not having used something that you could have used is permanent and unfixable. You can make up for it, you can accommodate for it, but there are some mistakes that can't be undone, and cremation is really kind of right up there. So link in the show notes to the webinar and also to this particular story out of Harris County, Texas. I have mentioned before that my In Case You Missed It stories all come from local newspapers. I have a Google alert for all of the funeral service related keywords. I sift through dozens of stories every day and come up with 6 or 7 per week that I think you should know about. And occasionally I see someone I know in the paper, which is kind of fun. And this week it was Doak Marasco. So the Connecticut Cemetery Board has elected its new board of directors, and we have a link in the show notes, and all of them are named. One of them is Doak Marasco of the Davy Tree Company. If you go to the show notes for this, I'll have a link to the episode I did with him. Doak came on to talk about climate change and how to deal with it as a cemeterian. And it was a great episode. And it wasn't great because of me. It was great because of him. So that's why I don't have any trouble saying it. But if you are a member of a cemetery board, if you're a member of anything and you would like to send me pictures of the things that you guys are doing, I would be happy to include them in the In Case You Missed It section. You can contact me by clicking through in the show notes. And lastly, if you are a subscriber to American Cemetery and Cremation or to Funeral Service Insider, I'm pretty proud of a feature that I have out today about a cemetery in Walla Walla, Washington. I was out there visiting family and I took a trip to this cemetery, and it happened to be a cemetery that was replacing all of its World War I headstones through a program with the Reserve Organization of America. So link in the show notes to both features. Check them out. We have lots of great photos and things, but if you are a cemeterian, there is government money to replace veterans' headstones. There is not government money to do the work. They'll send the headstones, you put them in. And it's complicated, and if you're interested in it, you should definitely get in touch with the guys from Walla Walla, because they learned some, I don't want to say the hard way, because the work got done and it looks beautiful, but it got more efficient as it went on. They've been doing this for 2 or 3 years now. Well, 2 or 3 cycles, I think since 2019, but this is their 3rd cycle. And it's kind of cool, the idea that they'll send you a headstone and you just have to put it where it belongs. But they're the small headstones, and they all have to be the same height. It's very precise work. I'm not telling you anything you don't know if it's your job, but for other people, it I think is a fun read, and you can find a link to both of those in the show notes. And this is my opportunity to remind you, please, to subscribe to Funeral Service Insider. We are also running specials on American Funeral Director and American Cemetery and Cremation. If you go to Kates-Boylston/holidays, you will see all of the specials. And again, a link in the show notes to the specials. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. I would love to have you as a subscriber. I try to work very hard for my subscribers and to send you things that you like to see. And finally, in the commercial department, in so much as it's a commercial, whether or not you are a subscriber, we are asking all of the funeral professionals who are within the sound of my voice To fill out a survey, it is time to do our annual compensation survey, where we talk about all of the different levels of payment, the benefits, the bonuses, and this year, whether or not the changes in compensation for non-exempt employees affected your business. It's funny, so far it hasn't. I spoke with a funeral director when they were first trying to make this, when they first announced that they'd be making this change. And almost all of the funeral directors said, no, we have it handled. We either have people who are, on the clock and working part-time and we're keeping them that way, or we compensate our salaried people enough. Although I did have, the first note I got back was that there are many salaried funeral directors who would rather go to a comp time situation where, like, as I guess police are the most common that have comp time, but a lot of government places have comp time where instead of getting overtime at time and a half, you get that many hours put in your vacation bank to use at vacation time or to use when you're sick or things like that. So I'll be looking into that over the next couple of months. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's practical. That's why I get to talk to experts. My expertise is talking to experts. So stay tuned for that in an upcoming Funeral Service Insider. That will do it for this week. In case you missed it, is a Kates-Boylston production. It was written, edited, and videoed by me, Tony Russo. Please subscribe wherever you're listening now. Follow if you're on Apple, or hit that little bell guy if you're watching this on YouTube, or follow along. We also post this to our Instagram and Facebook accounts. This is a hard show to miss unless you're trying pretty hard to miss it. But we would like it if you subscribed, so that way we could send it to you and you could get it first thing as it came out. I've already done all my little commercial bits, so I will just say have a great weekend, and I will check in with you next time.